So in this session, we are going to look at how an integrated, API supply chain helps FinServe ecosystems to thrive and build a personalized consumer experience. We strongly believe that the consumer experience makes the next generation of banking based on our extensive experience around the globe. So, looking at the agenda, what I want to basically cover is I want to first look at what it really mean by digital transformation in banking, because digital transformation is like a overused term. So, I want to specifically focus on banking domain and understand what we are looking at when we focus on digital transformation. And then I want to discuss how a traditional bank, can adopt and transform itself to the way people are doing banking in these days. It's very different from the traditional banking that we used to do. And then I want to kind of highlight how banks could add value using APIs, and especially in the data space, because banks are sitting on a treasure trove when it comes to data. They have a lot of data which they don't actually use. I want to kind of focus on that as well. And then I want to kind of introduce this new concept called banking experience canvas, which is kind of a illustration, or a kind of organization of a real personalized banking experience. How do you build that, and how do you make that available for your customers that can be in front of your competition? So I want to start with looking at this wonderful quote, or interesting quote. Think of digital transformation as a state of perpetual agility, always ready to evolve for whatever customer wants next. So basically, we are focusing on customer needs, his need, right? Um, Digital transformation is not just a tool or a technique. It's a way of life. You need to transform your goals, the culture, and the platform that you use within your bank, and provide a better experience. And these experience tend to change very rapidly, especially with COVID. There were a lot of changes. These brick and mortar banks were non-existent. People went for online platforms and things like that. So COVID did accelerate some of the experiences, and we see that a lot of changes happening in this experience domain, especially with millennials. So banks should be agile enough to adjust itself to these changing customer needs, and keep existing customers and attract the new customers. And you should be able to innovate in your space. That's all about digital transformation. Yeah, as I told you earlier, like digital transformation is an overused and of course often abused term. It is not about spending $500,000 on a shiny digital transform platform. It is not. It's about whether your company's philosophy recognizes the fact that organization has to transform itself to an agile ecosystem. So it starts there. And it should focus on understanding the customers and adapt to their needs, and make that difference. And of course, banks compete in an overcrowded, intensely competitive. They run on very little margins, and their landscape is very volatile. So you need to make sure that your bank is transformed at different levels, not only at the technology level, but at the philosophical level, at the culture level, and as well as the ecosystem. So it's very important. And these platforms and tools comes at the end. Those are enabled, but you need to have that agility, and that philosophy which drives innovation. That's the key. So it all starts with cultural transformation. An organization has to change, and then innovation has to happen. That's where the key. See, a walking chameleon. Chameleons are famous for their ability to quickly change their skin color to the surrounding environments. It can first understand the visual organization of the surrounding and quickly change its color pigmentation accordingly. Banks should do the same thing. I mean, banks should be work as chameleons. In order to do that, banks need to look at how consumers interact with their existing products and what the competition does. And it is very important. And banks need to reimagine the existing experience that they have, and what are the the wins, the changes of wins that are happening in social fabric. What are the changes in the businesses, and really reimagine experiences that you have, and do the innovations. Um, and the thing is, like, you need to come up with innovative products. Like, you can't just have set of products you keep on selling for years. You need to come up with, or at least you need to extend your product, targeting specific niche domains. If I take a set of Australian examples, um, there are banks that are very specific or recognized with their home loan product, mortgage product, especially around states that have beaches. Like, so you can create innovative products which target tourism, the traditional homeowners, especially in this period of COVID. You can create innovative products and extend your products and really target these niche domains. The ability to create that innovativeness, or how it all depends on how agile you are, how quickly you can build products and assemble product, or at least like extend your product. um, and if you can't add value within the bank, you can, of course, what you can do is, like, you can create a partner ecosystem around your bank. So this partner ecosystem provide the capability for you, and it expands your existing products and add new products. And of course, we can bridge different capabilities. You can aggregate capabilities, and package it and add value on top of that. That is like cross domain aggregation. And probably you might have seen that banks come up with products which cover travel, which cover education. So banks are coming out of their traditional domain and kind of provide this cross domain aggregation through their product. And as I said earlier, like, banks have a lot of data within themselves, and banks are trusted for this data and keeping privacy and security. So you can understand different patterns out of these data and transform that data into a new revenue channel, and expose that to your partners, fintechs, probably government, and things like that. So you need to look at those new revenue channels that are based on your existing assets. So so you basically need to adapt and differentiate and make your organization agile, of course, as something like a chameleon. So if you look at innovating in your product space, right, it all depends on how you can compose a value. The composability and agility make the difference. So you might have discrete services capabilities within your organization, and how you able to package these as products and provide innovative business capabilities, provide the competitive advantage. As you can see, like, using these pieces, these nice art has been created. So likewise, you should be able to package these individual capabilities, that is composability, and how soon you can take these innovative products to the market is your agility. So you should increase both composability and the agility in your organization. So that's where you can innovate. So let's look at how you can innovate in different spaces. Like, so if you look at API space, what you can do is like, so you can expose your internal capabilities as APIs, and probably with this open banking coming into the picture, the APIs being standardized, and as well as API behavior, the interactions being standardized. So this is CDR is the consumer data rights in Australia. So there's a compliance boundary within the open banking. Additional to that boundary, you can add additional attributes to the same APIs, additional resources, and non-open banking APIs, and you can support different interactions model like eventing, and you can come up with new monetization models. So you have new revenue channels, and you can expose that to fintechs, partners, and developers. So you add value on top of your regulatory boundary and provide that API space for interaction to your ecosystem. And not only APIs, you can add value addition on the data space as well. So if we look at a simple transaction, right? In a transaction record, you have an ID, the transaction ID, and you might have a type which defines whether the transaction is a direct debit, transfer, or a payment. And you have a description of the transaction. You have a biller code, merchant code, and as well as time. So if you remove personally identifiable data from these transactions and then de-identify, what you get is set of voluntary data set with the consent of the customer. And by looking at this transaction data, you can understand the consumer behavior patterns, their investment pattern, their choices, what the shops that they visit, and what kind of social interaction pattern that they have, what kind of relationships. So likewise, you can understand a lot of behaviors of the customers, and then you can, bake that into your products like real-time credit scoring, smart lending, wealth management products, and make them intelligent and provide the right picture. So that there are a lot of value addition that can be done on the data space. Which this area is very banks have neglected so far, but we see that a lot of new products coming in this space. The good example is Pay Stats API from Bank of Bilbao from Spain. So they provide this Pay Stats API, which basically looks at transactions that are coming from their accounts and as well as POS systems. So they provide patterns like based on consumer habits, their demographics, their origins, and all of these. So this is a value addition that they have provided on top of their data space. So likewise, so you can have these value addition on API space and data space, and if you what you can do is like we can increase the number of products and number of capabilities that you provide to your customers by having a digital ecosystem around you. So open banking standards provide a standard way of interacting and onboarding this ecosystem. This ecosystem can come as a partners or developers. So what you do is you increase the capabilities and value having this ecosystem. So you can come up with you can extend your capabilities with these kind of applications or products like personal finance management, real-time analytics, smart lending, payments, mobile banking, and those products. And if you look at one revenue stream or one product group, can extend those those product group with these kind of innovative applications or services like payday lending, debit consolidation, smart personal loans, secured quick loans, uh, person-to-person lending, and cash and go kind of products. So all of these capabilities are enabled through that agility that you build within the solution, and as well as the ecosystem that you build around your bank. So it is very important that you build an ecosystem and provide necessary plumbing and tools to naturally grow that ecosystem. So this can be achieved with APIs and API portals. So if you look at this diagram, so this is coming from InnoPay Open Banking Monitor, the report in 2020. So as you can see, this line goes for rich API scope, like how rich your API scopes are, number of APIs, and as well as capabilities that you provide through APIs. And on this axis, you define the experience of your developer portal. So if you look at the banks that are here, so Development Bank of Singapore, Citibank, and all of these banks have a strong or rich APIs, and as well as comprehensive experience. Let me show you the Development Bank of Singapore's dev portal. So it has a lot of APIs, and if you look at OZBC, it has 400 plus APIs. So these are some of the groupings, API groupings that you can see on OZBC: accounts, insurance, locators, locators like ATM locators, bank branch locators, investment APIs, which provide investment guidance as APIs, loans, cards, authorizations, and things like that. So they have more than 400 APIs. So what this essentially translates into is you can build a mature ecosystem around you, and you provide a lot of tools, platforms, and space for collaboration through developer portal to to this ecosystem grow naturally. So that's what banks should do. And of course, you keep seeing new products and APIs as products. Like earlier, it was like savings, term deposits, and things like that. But now we see APIs as new products within banks. So API products has become revenue channels. So this is API products from ABN AMRO. And if you look at again Bank of Bilbao from Spain, so what they have done is they have provided embedded banking. So some of the components, SDKs, they have produced, and those components can be embedded within your existing systems that you use in your business. They have built adapters to Salesforce. So if you're using Salesforce, through Salesforce, you can streamline your payments. So these agents directly communicate with your bank and push those payments. Likewise, they have come up with these embedded components that you can embed into your existing business systems, and that integration happens naturally. So all of these, innovations, products happens with some kind of standard governance within the API space. Some of the regions have open banking, which basically regulatory driven markets, and some don't have. They are driven by the market, but still they have a mechanism for standardizing these APIs. So by looking at open banking, we have seen that there are maturity levels in banks. So some banks have just looking at the compliance, and they have challenges in platforms, integration challenges, data quality challenges. Their data is in different places. They need to aggregate those data and things like that. So they're looking, they're just struggling to comply with open banking standards or API standards. Then banks come to the stage 2, which is able to provide, rich developer experience, quick partner onboarding, and performant and reliable APIs, which basically bring, creates an ecosystem around their bank. And so they were able to produce like products like personal financial management applications, payment apps, and things like that. And going beyond, coming on to stage 3, we see that banks provide additional APIs on top of open banking regulatory APIs, additional resources, different flexible usage models, and things like that. So they are expanding. So they bring out calculators, advisory applications, analytics, and those extended capabilities. And we want to push those banks into a stage 4, which basically creates new products with voluntary data, like data derived from the information or data that is gathered by the bank, and as well as different interaction models. So experience and as well as the content, like the information that we can provide. So that's where this innovation happens, and where the banking experience canvas concept fits in. So before moving into what banking experience is, I want to throw this quote into the table. So disruptors don't really set out to beat you at your own game. They change the rules. So we want to change those rules and provide these innovative concepts. That's where the banking experience canvas comes. In order to understand what banking experience canvas is, I want to bring in few fundamental building blocks and explain them. So in banking experience canvas, as we see on traditional banking, we are not looking at different accounts like saving accounts, everyday accounts, personal accounts, business account, nothing like that. What we see is one single value store. You can attribute that to one account, and that single value store is identified in different identifiers. It can be a international banking account number, or it can be something like a username at Dassana, or it can be a QR code, it can be a thumbprint. So you can relate any of these identity profiles into this single value store. So whatever the income that coming into your value store will come to this one single store. And then what you do is you separate that into multiple jars or pots, or you can take it, you can think it like a bucket. You define that buckets on against that value store. The definition might be dynamic or static. As an example, say the salary is your monthly income, and you define, okay, 20% of this should go to saving. That is your savings bucket. Or it can be dynamic, like based on the amount, and then maybe looking at some other factors, you will chunk that into the saving bucket. So likewise, you will have a saving bucket, you will have a day-to-day spending bucket, you will have something to look at your education expenses. Likewise, you can separate it up. And each bucket would have a separate experience, like how do you want to spend that money or invest that money. So that is your experience, and that experience translates into a behavior. So this is the model that we are kind of coming up with, this banking experience canvas. And then let's look at how we can provide that experience on a digital platform. So that's where this canvas term comes. So what we want to do is we want to let customer or the consumer to manage their banking experience, let them to build their own banking experience. So this is a kind of a illustration of how you can provide that freedom to your customer. So you can have a service palette which provide different capabilities that the bank has, the payment capabilities, the everyday banking capabilities, notifications, and things like that. And even you can include something like travel, which is outside your traditional banking domain. So what consumer does is it creates the experience. So if you look at, as I said earlier, like you have a value store and you have a international banking number, you have a username or a QR code, which you can provide to your income sources, and then you have these buckets, right? So this is here what we have defined here is like the your electricity bill. So you pay that electricity bill to your energy provider, and it's the package family saver. And when you run this workflow, there will be an SMS generated out and come to you. And especially around, if you look at Australia, right? Australia have consumer data rights open banking specification. So in CDR, it's not limited to banks. It cross domain, so you can attach your electricity provider to have real time usage as well. So it will come as a service capability within your service pellet, and of course behind the scene it will interact through an API. So likewise, you can build your experiences, and you don't need to really build from the scratch. You can use templates, and of course, there will be a something like a chatbot which help you to build just interacting verbally with or with chat in order to build this. So basically, we provide freedom to the consumer to build their banking experience. That's where we want to go, and as a similar to a social media experience. So if you look at how it fits into business, right? We have been talking about the consumer banking, but it fits into the business as well. So you have multiple buckets as we discussed earlier, and bank can provide these kind of services that they already have and expose them as APIs to small businesses, and their own systems would interact with these services through APIs or maybe through eventing or file systems, and then have that relationship built with the bank. And bank can work with these small businesses and create their own business banking experience by dragging and dropping these components to the canvas and building that experience. And that's what we want to provide. So every business has their own way of handling their cash, cash flow management, how they interact with their customers, what are their rewarding schemes and things like that. We want to make that want to build that unique experience and provide that experience to the customer. So that's what this canvas provides. So if you look at how we enable this, there are multiple technology layers behind that. The canvas in the front end, but there's a eventing bus because this is a dynamic canvas. So you need to have an event bus behind the canvas, and as well as multiple, microservices architecture based a service mesh and a set of services. And the individual services can come from different, contributors from fintechs, partners, and things like other banks as well. So they might be coming from open banking standard APIs, and we should be having a strong API portal or API marketplace in order to onboard these capabilities and produce them as APIs or API products. And we need to have the capability of eventing. These experiences are built as workflows. We need to have strong real-time analytical capabilities. We need to have identity capabilities, machine learning capabilities, and ability to generate patterns and information out of the data that we gather. So W2 as a platform, we provide all of these capabilities and different levels through our products, and as well as we can share the experiences that we have with open banking across the globe. and not only open banking, but the other domains or industries that we are working with. So we come with this full package, both the platform capability and as well as the innovative capabilities. When it comes to transform your banking organization, we believe it's a navigation path with waypoints. So we will first look at the requirements. We will come up with design workshops, and then we will help you to do the internal culture shift, and as well as we will align yourself with the regulator, and as well as we will align partners with you, because we need to build the ecosystem around you, and then we go ahead with implementation, testing, and go live, and as well as we provide that reciprocal collaboration between the banks that we are working with. So we will introduce you to the other banks, so they can become your clients, and you guys can become clients of those. And we want to push you guys into beyond compliance, and what are the value addition that you can provide, and as well as push you guys to the level which we called as bank 4. So this brings to the end of the session.